equipment, drivers, insurance, regulations. Running an asset-heavy car haul business takes more than work. So please help me welcome 4 very experienced auto transport business managers. Say hello in the live chat, make new friends, learn from the best on ATI Auto Business. What's up, ecosystem? Welcome back to ATI Auto Business, automotive ecosystem, where everyone learns more about the automotive industry. Let's get started with some top industry news and headlines that include new auto theft container car scanners, new car supply too high for some dealers, and many EV owners are ready to go back to gas. We got a panel in it for the long haul. Derick, Joe, John, and Rod are going to join me. Tonight is show 351 in a row on a Tuesday night, in it for the long haul. We're lucky to have these gentlemen back with us. If you saw it last week, Old Habits Die Hard, Lenders Moving Repo Cars, where lenders and auctions and remarketing and repo intersect, to be continued. That was a really cool show. If you didn't see it, go check it out. I dropped 5 shorts this past week, and I am going to keep the consistency if I can. Know your ecosystem, OEM, dealer, auction, logistics, remarketing, recon, compliance, and tech, all here on ATI Auto Business. And let's go ahead and deliver some ecosystem news. Here we go. Got a lot of news, so I'm going to try and fit it in for the panel. So how does the GTA's new mobile scanner stop stolen cars from being shipped overseas? It's a problem. So the mobile X-ray scanner unveiled in Mississauga on Sunday will soon be making its way around the Toronto area, screening for stolen vehicles in shipping hubs and warehouses. The Canada Border Services Agency is investigating this $3.5 million scanner. Will examine shipping containers leaving Canada as part of a larger effort to tackle auto theft across the country. It's been in the headlines week after week. So the plan incorporates intelligence sharing between law enforcement agencies, focus on disrupting, dismantling, and prosecuting the organized criminal groups behind auto theft. But again, more importantly, there's a new scanner. This machine releases high-energy radiation that can penetrate steel several inches thick. It can image the entire container to identify the presence of, there's a vehicle in there. The new machine is capable of scanning anywhere from 25 to 100 trucks an hour, depending on the scanning mode. That's right, we're scanning the containers on the trucks. The unit will require a trained officer to operate. Because here we go, cars stolen from Premier League footballers found in shipping containers. This story comes out of England. Stolen cars belonging to 2 famous footballers, 16 million in pounds, recovered by Essex police. They were stolen in neighboring counties. Discovered shipping containers due to be transported to Dubai from a London gateway port. 517 vehicles and parts were recovered. So, 16 million pounds, that's $20 million. Laurel man sentenced to 37 months for conspiring to ship stolen cars to West Africa. Haitian citizen living in Maryland worked with others to rent and steal cars from companies such as Avis and Hertz, using false documents and credit cards, working with others to rent cars in Maryland, Virginia, D.C., Tennessee, and other states. The cars sent back to Maryland, headed to West Africa. It's fraud everywhere. Law enforcement is aware of more than 40 vehicles he alone and his conspirators either exported or attempted to export. Think of the massive size of this problem. In other news, Hyundai dealer agreement changes could be illegal in many states. The NADA is talking about this. The National Automobile Dealers Association has alerted Hyundai dealers of changes the manufacturer has made to their dealer sales and service agreements that might run afoul of state franchise laws. A memo sent from NADA to members warns that Hyundai dealers could be asked to sign several new addendums to existing agreements that could pose significant financial burden. The memo states that non-compliance with the terms outlined in the Hyundai addendums could result in potential termination of the dealer sales and service agreement. And a court rules dealership salesman did violate a non-compete agreement. Oh, man. Nothing's changed since before COVID. Here it is. It's going to keep on going. I got a lot of bad news here tonight. Used car salesman violated a 12-month, 25-mile non-compete agreement when he left one suburban Detroit Chevy dealership to join another nearby. Now, I realize there was non-compete news, and maybe that's what he was thinking of. Who knows? But he says he freely entered into the non-compete agreement, does not dispute that he violated it, said the court. On April 23rd, the FTC announced a final rule banning. That was April 23rd that the FTC announced a rule banning non-compete agreements, saying they keep wages low, suppress new ideas, rob the American economy of dynamism, which I find fascinating. The FTC's announcement said the final rule would take effect on September 4th. Too early. This guy was too early. And an appeals court rejected his argument that the non-compete agreement couldn't be enforced since it did not protect a reasonable business interest, restrict wage growth, stifle employee mobility. The court cited evidence from the store's general sales manager about training and sales methods and strategies. Yeah, you do want to hear this. If you work for a company, said that when he was promoted, he received access to the dealership software with confidential information, including marketing strategies like assigning specific work plans with customers to optimize customer engagement. And DeSantis had access to managerial information, including customer transaction logs and revenue, inventory-related data, and marketing strategies and practices, and attended meetings where inventory management tools, inventory and pricing strategies were discussed. This case highlights the need for dealership personnel to ask their employers questions and consult with their own lawyers before signing a non-compete agreement. Right, yeah, because everyone's got a lawyer ready to go. Ford CFO, rising inventories across the industry are worrying him. Really? Already? Ford Motor Company CFO John Lawler said rising inventory levels worry him, noting the industry will have to closely monitor supply and demand if it hopes to maintain the discipline many promised heading out of the microchip shortage. It's only 2024. Wow. All that, plant, get production back online stuff, and now we're already here. According to Cox Automotive, the industry average day supply of new vehicles ticked up to 76 at the start of May, with a total supply around 2.84 million. Nearly a dozen brands, including Ford and Lincoln, have triple-digit stock levels. Triple-digit stock levels? Grabbing a fake hat there. Lawler said Ford continues to aim for dealers to carry 50 to 60 days supply. When asked if excess supply could hurt pricing, he admitted the trend was concerning, but said the pricing issue was not yet affecting Ford. KBB, Kelley Blue Book, says some brands have too many cars on the lots. When dealers have too few cars for the number of shoppers, they can charge high prices. When they have too many, they have to charge lower prices. Dealers can't sit on unsold inventory. So when he was quoted as saying it's not yet affecting... Anyways, just keep going. Dealerships have a sweet spot. For most of them, it's 60 days. When the supply on the lot equals about 60 days worth of sales, they're operating near maximum profitability. So in the quiz later today, the sweet spot for dealers is 60 days. Today, the average dealership has 74 days supply. 11 brands have 101 days or more in stock. The average car deal last month included discounts worth 6.7% of the price, the highest average discount in 3 years. Yeah, I think supplies were good. Are we good? Right? So when somebody says, hey man, can I keep running and can I deliver as many as I want? No. the answer is going to be no, you can't. And they know they need to attract shoppers at a time when interest rates are high and likely not coming down soon. So maybe you're gonna need those discounts. Lane watch, automakers sending more volumes to the auction too. At the beginning of May, new vehicle inventory was estimated at 2.84 million, 51% higher year over year, and at the highest point since late 2020. And Black Book is saying the automakers are sending more volume to the wholesale market, even as analysts saw an accelerated depreciation rate across all segments. We're at the peak. Hey, America's Group has bought San Antonio Auto Auction, and that means they now have 39 locations across 19 states, including digital and mobile sales. San Antonio Auto Auction is located on 44 acres in Texas, has a 6-lane arena, recon, mechanical services, its dealer consignment and fleet lease sales, 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. America's Group most recently expansion was June 2023 when they acquired DAA Las Vegas from McConkey. CarMax is going to build an auction center in New Kent. The company intends to use the facility as an auction site where it will sell vehicles to other dealers. The location would also have repair facilities to prep vehicle to be sold on the lots of local CarMax stores. The company won't offer on-site retail sales at the New Kent Center. This thing is wholesale. And Carvana same-day delivery covers 25% of the U.S. population with the addition of Newark. Really? Holy mackerel. With the latest addition, they've reached a milestone. The online used vehicle retailers expanded same-day delivery to select residents of Newark, New Jersey, the 15th market, representing 12 states, to be included. Carvana said that means the service is now available to a quarter of the U.S. population. Same day? Holy cow. That is a huge deal. If you don't work in automotive logistics, you don't know. That is a big deal. I wouldn't want to be working the customer service desk and be unprepared. The service, which was launched in Arizona last August, allows area customers to take delivery of a vehicle as soon as the same day as they place an order. And it's a car. And select customers interested in selling their current vehicle can also get same-day drop-off. Man, dude, I was just online. Here's my car. I'm ready to go. I got to go. I got to get out of here. But, sir, Newark is the 6th new market added in 2024, joining Birmingham, Alabama, San Antonio, Texas, Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, Philadelphia, Sacramento, California. Carvana said the service is supported by its first-party logistics network and infrastructure, which including Carvana inspection and recon centers and Odessa auction sites. I am telling you, man, even Jeff Bezos is going, really? Trive Capital and Texas partners with Royal Oaks RPM Freight Systems. This just came out. What, June 18th? This is today. RPM Freight Systems and Royal Oak Finished Vehicle Logistics Partner has received an unspecified investment from the Dallas-based private equity firm Trive Capital and Blue Jay Capital Partners, offices in Florida and Colorado. In North America and Europe, the company used by many of the largest OEMs and remarketers to transport vehicles and freight. RPM is global. So Blue Jay Capital, Blue Jay is operationally focused private equity firm investing in transportation and logistics businesses. Trive Capital and Dallas-based private equity firm with more than $7 billion of regulatory assets under management. Trive focuses on investing equity and debt in what it sees as strategically viable middle market companies with the potential for transformational upside through operational improvement. So everyone's talking about Fisker filing for BK, and this would seem timely because more than 40% of U.S. EV buyers want to go back to gas. That's right. I know. It's, you don't want to hear it, right? Because like this topic is so like, I don't know. It's no longer an electric vehicle. It's like a puppy. How dare you say that about my puppy? More than a quarter of EV owners are likely to return a combustion engine vehicle for the next. I mean, that's what the study says. I'm just reading it. More than 4 in 10 owners of electric vehicle electric vehicles in the U.S. are likely to buy a combustion engine car for their next purchase. That's the takeaway from a global McKinsey & Company survey that, among other findings, concluded that charging concerns, it's not like this is a surprise. Range anxiety is everywhere. 29% of EV owners across the globe said they're likely to reverse course. That hit 46% in the U.S. Yeah, the U.S. is a big country, man. People want to drive. What are you getting so hot about, Jay? Concern was inadequacy of the public charging infrastructure. They also cited concerns with high cost of ownership, detrimental impact to long-distance trips. But I think, and I don't know what, they said an EV's down to $25K to buy one. The consumer sentence may go hand in hand with a slow rollout. Okay, only 8 stations are operational in this $5 billion federal program. Jay, keep the comments. Just read the news. Among existing stations, both public and private stations can be hard to find. Gas station options are displayed on road signage. We all know that. This says EV chargers remain far from public view. That sounds like an opinion. Part of availability is visibility. You can't keep chargers hidden behind a Walmart. Okay. What is going on around here? Who wrote this? Baltimore shipping channel fully reopens. It's right. We talked about this last week. We're going to be talking about it again tonight. Proficient Auto Logistics reports first quarter 2024 financial results. And so, yeah, man, Proficient. Initial public offering in May. Here's the highlights. Operating income is up. Income before taxes is up. Operational ratio is up. Total units delivered is up. Up. Yes, we might talk about the UAW. Now, the UAW, President Shawn Fain, is facing investigation by an independent monitor. This is like the EV article. You gotta have some context, because who knows? An independent federal monitor is investigating allegations of retaliation against other union leaders. Although the more I read it, the more I probably believe it. UAW President Shawn Fain under investigation by an independent federal monitor over allegations of retaliation against other union leaders. But then we're not talking about union leader. We're talking about the UAW Secretary-Treasurer. That said she faced retaliation for her refusal or reluctance to authorize certain expenditures. But, was it reasonable? The 36-page report describes increasing stonewalling and non-cooperation by the union, delaying access to documents, which seems like everybody does that. Borofsky was appointed the federal monitor in 2021 as the UAW grappled with a corruption scandal that resulted in federal convictions of several former leaders. 2 former UAW presidents were sentenced to prison, so that's not good. And the investigation of UAW president and other leaders threatens corruption-free image. See, and there's your headline. That's the way the media works, right? Now you have the corruption-free image is gone. And it could erode member trust and hampering. Who's to say? I don't know. But we're going to be talking about it tonight. This isn't a one-man show. I am adding Derick and Joe and John and Rod, so do me a favor. Leverage ATI. I don't ship cars. I move information. Ask your questions. Share your thoughts. Grow your business. My old buddy Ken says people are stealing the copper from charging cables. Well, no wonder they got such range anxieties. The cables are gone. If you can't beat them, join them. Go to ATIautobusiness.com, click on the contact page, and get the podcast. And know your ecosystem. Do me a favor, stick around right after this. We will be live with Derick and Joe and John and Rod. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Are you completely stressed out from all the calls and the contracts and the verifications of loads where nobody ever answers the phone? Call Murphy Auto Dispatch Services today. Murphy Auto Dispatch Services has over 15 years in the transport industry. We are your office while you are on the road. We book, we verify, and we bill out your loads for you. We have an excellent accounting staff and an even better dispatch team. Give us a call today at 417-273-0021, or if you want to email me, it's murphyautotransport31@yahoo.com. Give us a call today.
Transport Auto Quoter is by far the leading auto quoting software on the market, and the only auto quoter with a pro version that comes preset with accurate pricing for anywhere in the U.S. So you don't have to worry about it. The best part is that no change with your current software is needed. Just plug TAQ in and start booking jobs. Carriers can easily plug TAQ into their current websites and start making money right away. I bet you're wondering how we do this instantly and accurately 24/7. Well, constant analytics is the key. Our Price Watch team is constantly monitoring current market conditions, paying close attention to seasonal and quick-moving industry changes. At the end of the day, it takes a lot of time and data to maintain good pricing, time that most of us just don't have on a daily basis. So free yourself up. Using TAQ Pro is really a no-brainer. Save time and money, maximizing your leads and optimizing your online investments. You'll finally be able to sleep well at night knowing that TAQ is on the job selling for you 24/7. Never missing a potential job.
Don't lose any more sleep worrying about missing leads. Get Transport Auto Quoter. Quote the right price the first time, every time. Run your business with TAQ. Visit transportautoquoter.com. Link is in the live chat. All right, cool. Here we go. Thank you so much. Please do help me wish a very warm welcome to. They're in it for the long haul. We've got Joe Bercari, Rod Hamil, John Larick is here. Let's see here. And I think Derick, maybe Derick's here too. So let's kick it off. Oh, he's great. He can hear me. Okay, great. I heard Derick. I heard John. We'll kick it off with Joe. We'll say hello to Rod, and then we will move into Joe and Derick. Joe, John, and Derick. Joe, please say hello. Tell us a little bit more about you.
How you doing, Jay? Hey, Rod. Hey, John.
Hey, Joe.
How we doing?
Hey, Joe. Doing great. Good seeing you.
Same here. Yeah, I actually don't look like that picture you posted of me. My God, that was awful.
You know, sorry, man. I didn't have a lot of time. I was trying to find. I thought you'd say.
And said, "Don't ever use this again."
Oh man. Well, it's there are times where being a one-man show is harder than other times.
Yeah.
And when it comes to graphics, I can do the video, I can do the audio, but the image stuff, yeah. Sorry, Joe.
I'll get you a new one. Did I hear Derick is on here from Fine Line also?
Yeah, I'm on. I'm trying to get my camera to work.
Oh, copy.
Story of my life.
Well, hey, you got an excuse then. That's okay. My photo just looks bad.
Joe, when I looked at that picture, though, it was great because you were behind looking over our shoulders.
Yeah.
Well, and it's car hauling. Like,
yeah, I'm the creeper.
I figured he was loading or something.
Yeah.
But it was great. Hey, Rod. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, John. Good seeing you, brother.
Where do you want to go from here?
Oh, that's funny. All right. Well, I had kind of, and by the way, thanks, live chat. Thank you so much. So we could talk about, all right, well, number one, we were going to do this Port of Baltimore update. So let's start with Port of Baltimore. Is there anything to say at all?
I mean, I'm not hearing anything much different other than that it's still kind of a backed up, and it's going to be that way for a long time. That's a lot of traffic flows in and out of there. So,
Yeah, we've had a couple big ships come in there, unload 900 or 1,000 cars. So we've been moving along.
So, okay, there are going to be folks. I got to say, I'm included. What does that look like? 900 or 1,000 cars shows up. You got a bit of, Port of Baltimore is not 100% right now, or is it? Tell me more. What is that? How did that go?
Well, we get different types of product in there. The one is they're ready to go. They just have to unload them and take the tow hooks off and park them. So we get them in 48 hours. And other product has to be processed and upfitted, floor mats, windows, Maroni labels, whatever. So, I mean, it's feast or famine. Sometimes we get 900 cars at once. Sometimes we get 40 cars in a day. So it's a little bit of a adjustment sometimes. But I feel like some of the ships, they send a ship in to test the waters at first. So now I think everything's, pretty good for them.
But does a missing bridge affect the congestion at all? The operation?
It hasn't affected us too much.
Okay, that's good news. All right.
I think the biggest problem, Jay, was the ships being able to come in and out of the channel. And now that they got the channel open, I don't think there's any disruptions at this point.
Okay, so that is an update. I mean, that's good, and that's what we're talking about. So yeah, they
Things
cleared
getting better by the day.
They cleared the debris. The missing bridge isn't causing a traffic issue because that wasn't the main route anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I think more so the other ports that are more Sparrows Point, those ports where Volkswagen and Mercedes and BMW is, I think it more affects them than it does in Dundalk. So we don't haul out of the other ports, so I can't really speak on that.
Yeah, I'll just say this, is that I'm big on like visuals when I'm learning about something. If this was anatomy, I would want to see the exoskeleton, the organs, and all that. I don't know where the OEMs are. I don't know the location of all the ports, but it seems like this port is pretty complicated if you're not used to knowing where things are.
Yeah, they're all in there.
There's all different, 3 or 4 different bursts there for, manufacturers. I mean, Dundalk is huge. I mean, they have the big heavy equipment where they get the farm equipment in different areas. Different manufacturers are in different parts of Dundalk. I mean, if you don't know, you got to ask the guard at the gate if you don't know where you're going to get to where a certain product is. It's almost like a little city inside a city.
Oh, Joe took the screen. You got something to share? Yeah.
Yeah, there's Sparrows Point right there, and Dundalk right next to it. That's what he's talking about there is Dundalk, Sparrows Point, and then Curtis Bay and down this area over here on the other side of the other side of the port there. So these are almost independent of each other. They're all little complexes, every one of them.
Yeah, you just have to to go there. You can't go across the bridge, so you got to go around to come in. So it's adding some mileage and some time, but you can still get in there.
Yeah, so if you see where Sparrows Point is, that's where the bridge is gone. I mean, Dundalk we can access through the Fort McHenry Tunnel. Sparrows Point, now you have to go all the way back around. You can't just shoot over the bridge there. So it doesn't affect Dundalk as much as Sparrows Point.
I know I read a stat. Do we know how many OEMs run out of there?
I think it's 13. Jay, give me a second. I'll tell you for sure.
It's kind of around the number I was thinking. I thought it was in the teens, which is a lot, right?
Yep.
Is this the largest finished vehicle logistics port on the East Coast of the U.S.? Is that a stat?
I believe so.
I think so. So, but this is good news for the OEMs.
And that's only because they have the capacity to be able to put the cars there, where in Norton and Elizabeth, they don't have the room.
Right. What port is Elizabeth?
That's
Newark.
Newark.
Yeah, Newark.
And then wasn't there one in New York that was also trying to help alleviate?
No, I would think that's you got Elizabeth, you got Newark, that's a little north, and then you got Elizabeth that's south of that. So they're both in the same area.
Okay. All right, but things are looking good again. So I guess that's wonderful. That's the update.
Well, we're seeing cars coming out of there. The freight's coming out the whole area. So the freight's definitely there.
So if it's good for the OEMs, it's good for car haul, business is back. Anything left happening in, I mean, we're back. They just have to rebuild the bridge, but rebuilding the bridge doesn't seem to be the big bottleneck here. So
No, it's just snarls up traffic.
all right, well, they got lucky then. If this bridge wasn't the main vessel into the port, that's lucky.
Yeah, but now I don't know if it is still getting the same amount of volume of export as it was dealing with before. That export volume might be going to Savannah or Houston or somewhere else, and that's really hard to tell because it moves.
Joe, I got a question for you. Do you think that the manufacturer is going to be closing down to retool in July, or you think because they're so busy right now they're going to keep going?
A lot of what I'm hearing is that they will be retooling, but they have such a high degree of inventory to work through that we probably won't notice it.
Great.
Kansas City is thundering right now. I can tell you that I've seen spot requests for the Dearborn area and up that way. Quite a lot of Michigan actually, and down south quite a lot. So yeah, I think there will be some retooling, but we're dealing with very, very high on plant inventories that need to be drawn down.
Joe, do they have a lot of reworks, units that were missing parts that have been in storage for a while that they're working through?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. I mean, it's hard to tell if it's, what the root cause is. It could be any number of things. Could be rail car availability for all I know. It's kind of a mishmash, and they're using up a lot of smaller offsite yards, so it masks what belongs where. But
Right.
At least that's what they're doing here. So, but no, I think it's probably not one problem. It's probably many problems, and you're trying to shove a bowling ball through a garden hose with these kinds of releases, and that's it always takes a tax on the system.
So, port, check. Okay, so what I really want to ask, and I think maybe this is the time, is was this or other like relevant news related situations? Did you see anything like this, like at FBL or at AHA? That's what I really want to know. When you go to the trade conference, other than kind of macro topics, are there like relevant news related micro topics that turn into
I can say, Jay, when we went out to Las Vegas, and Rod was there and everything, there was a lot of talk with the OEMs about trying to get their cars moved quicker. I wasn't aware that is such a problem, but it is. And but the transporters actually got up and said to them that you want us to invest all this money, but you're not compensating us for it. So hopefully the OEMs heard what the transporters were saying, but that was a big discussion there. And the other thing is that they're talking about, it all comes down to how fast we can get the cars delivered. I mean, they're all concerned about that.
I didn't attend either of the conferences, but the chatter that I keep hearing has a lot to do, it tends to revolve around stability. The priority is stable network, stable capacity, and, being able to scale up and scale down with the ebb and flow of volume. So kind of like what you're talking about, John, They want it moved faster, faster, faster. Well, they always do. And then, we give them the price tag, and then they say, okay, maybe cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. That's a cycle, in our business. But stability seems to be a priority right now. That there are a lot of companies that I think have been some upheaval in the industry that has really raised a lot of eyebrows. I'm not saying it's bad. Don't know that for sure, but I hear a lot about stability.
And the whole thing was that there was a lot of discussion about the brokers. So,
Yep, that was a hot topic.
yeah, it's a very hot topic, and we'll see what happens with that because hopefully they heard what the transporters have to say, and we'll go from there. I mean, they're asking us to invest $400,000, but they're not compensating us for it, And the one thing they did make it clear is they want us to update our equipment, get your, they want to make sure that we're reliable and everything like that, but they're not compensating us for it.
All right. Thank you. I got that. And I realized that, I guess I've been around the block long enough, and you guys have been nice enough to, get on the panel and be here, so I don't want to hit you with any curveballs, but that definitely got my interest. Let's go back to OEM days supply. Did that news surprise you? Like some of those headlines? Did you see what the Ford CEO was saying and how many days supply are on dealers' lots and how high some of those numbers were already after, have you guys been just cranking out cars to dealerships and that's what's happened?
I think the dealer trades has been on the increase. We've moved a lot of freights from one dealer to another, and we haven't seen that in a while.
And I talked to Joe about this because our whole thing was, as I being on the other end of it and always looking for work, I wasn't aware that these cars weren't being delivered quick enough, So, we're saying to ourselves, here I am begging for work, but then I'm finding out that, they're upset with the carriers because they're not moving the cars fast enough. And I didn't know that. I didn't see it. And I talked to Joe about it. And it's a problem that I wasn't aware of.
Yeah.
Well, that also has to do with a lot of times, it's feast or famine. Like in the ports, you get a big ship, you knife through it, then you're waiting for a while for another ship to come in, or if there's inventory that's been sitting and they're doing reworks and then they slam reworks on you too. They always want you to ship, but it's hard to get in a groove, and then you're running and you're using outside carriers and all of a sudden it stops at certain places, or they can't get rail cars, and if you're in a rail yard, and then you get a disruption there. So the manufacturers want to ship, but Joe, I'm sure you run into this too. You come up on quality holds, or they're real busy, then all of a sudden it's dragging along and you don't have enough cars to ship.
I think we lost Joe.
I couldn't hear you there for a second.
Yeah, okay.
I had a little issue, a glitch with my sound.
He was talking about ship. Here's a question.
Ornery.
What is, so going back to the OEMs, talking about speed, what speed do they, if there's a way to give an average or of a lane, because there's going to be all different numbers, but what is the speed they expect? What speed weren't they getting? And again, it sounds like there's plenty of inventory on dealers' lots. I'm still trying to figure out what are they talking about?
Well, the manufacturers all use a different metric for how they judge, transit time or velocity. Sometimes it's from tender to delivery. Sometimes it's from tender to dispatch. It's different flavors of the same thing. But I think, they're just different ways to measure speed. And so for one of our manufacturers that we do a lot of business with, they want a certain percentage. I think it's 80 or 85% of the volume dispatched within 48 hours of tender. and that doesn't count weekends or holidays or things like that in the equation. So that's a really tall order if you're building loads across very sparse areas. Very difficult to be able to service that and make money, because your truck isn't just going from one pickup to one destination. You're kind of doing a lot of this to deliver. There are how conversely, I mean, there are also high volume areas that we service that we beat the standard because it's just very easy to build good loads. So it's all trade-offs. I would say that in general, if I had to kind of pick a number, most of the time the dealer, or excuse me, most of the time the manufacturer prefers that you have no more than 3 or maybe 4 days worth of average dwell on the lot. That means that for every unit you have that might be, let's say, 6 or 8 days old, you have 3 or 4 units that are 0 and 1 days old, bringing the average down to whatever that KPI is. There's a lot of ways you can play with the numbers, and like any statistic, it's got its merits and its flaws based on what you're looking at. But by and large, you want to be moving the cars within 4 days at the most, 5 on average. You're going to have those weird spots that just are hard to get to. They don't take after hours, or their density is just very, very difficult. So you just do the best you can with them and try and ship a lot of younger units with the older units to be able to sort of balance it out when you read your KPIs. Most manufacturers look at this information during some sort of time cadence. Often it's every month, sometimes it's every quarter. There are a few that are more aggressive than that. Again, it kind of depends on what you're hauling, the distance that you're going, what market you're servicing. The market in the New York tri-state area and the market in St. Louis are very, very different. The challenges are very different. One may or may not be more difficult than the other. That would be an interesting argument to have one day. But but the environments are very, very different. The traffic is very, very different between those two places. So
the pickup locations for new vehicles then would be port, plant, railhead. Am I leaving any
and mixing
out?
Yard? Yeah, intermediates like mixing centers and stuff like that. There are some mixing yards that manufacturers are currently using. They shuttle them off site of the plant to an intermediate area where they then sort them and do whatever they do with them.
I gotcha. Okay, so are there any businesses where they have an advantage of fitting the 48-hour dispatch, or does everybody have?
No, it's as diverse as you can get. If you're running a shuttle where it's always the same point of pickup and always the same point of delivery, 48 hours is a piece of cake. All you need is the right number of trucks and you're in good shape. But if you're delivering, out of a plant where your average length of haul is 750 miles, then 48 hours can become challenging, especially if you have a large geography spanning 2 or 3 states. It's very difficult to be able to meet that number.
So I'll admit it's a bit of a setup, because how can a broker have an advantage over an asset-heavy company when it comes to fitting these timelines with an OEM?
Because brokers have time. They don't have the same. They're not held to the same standard that a fleeted organization is held to.
And also, they don't have to get their trucks to the terminals because maybe half the trucks are already there. Versus us, we have to route them there to get that 750-mile run. We don't just have a truck sitting there 24/7.
Plus, a brokerage can draw. The fleeted account has a set type of equipment, and this is what you have. And it could take years to build the fleet so that you have the right combination of equipment in it to service a particular account. The brokerages can go to the open market and just pull from any Tom, Dick, and Harry. If you need 3-car wedges that day because you've got a lot of dualies, then that's what you broker to. If you need 9-car carriers because you're shipping a lot of small cars, that's what you broker to. You set your cost, presumably they set their cost accordingly. I don't know. I don't do that business, but.
And usually the shuttle trucks are different than the long haul trucks. We got day cabs versus sleepers, so you can't really switch drivers or just tell them, hey, run this to help out.
Well, if you can afford to carry 2 different fleets for 2 distinct pieces of business, then you shouldn't be in car haul. You should be in doing whatever it is that got you that much money to afford that. You probably need to be in finance because you're a genius.
Yeah. Well, the other thing too is the brokers don't fire up until the ship comes in anyway.
Right, and they get things booked with other carriers within a few hours versus like Joe said, it's one thing that's 750 miles, which is nearly about 40% of the work hours of that truck, and plus that truck could be a few hundred miles away. So by the time it gets there, he already lost 24 hours. So he has basically 24 hours to actually move it. And it's going 750 miles is a 2-day trip anyways.
And you got to worry about getting the truck back because we all know it doesn't pay enough to go one way.
Well, you want to have a return set up in some fashion, so you're always setting. It's like a sculpture. You're always crafting this part of your network to meet that part of your network, and now you got a hole over here, so you got to work on this. Oh, now I got a hole over here, so I got to work on that, and then by that time this contract expires, so we got to change this. And, it's a piece of art that is ever evolving. Networks change.
You gotta have them dispatch weeks ahead.
Mm-hmm. And when you're bidding business with the manufacturers, I mean, you're talking about contract cycles that last over the span of years, but you don't get in trouble usually. Usually you don't get in trouble, over a 3-year cycle. You get in trouble because you fall behind after 2 or 3 weeks.
Okay, awesome. I'm really trying to tread lightly because I want it. Was there more then about this being brought to the OEM's attentions? Hey, here's the thing, guys. We have trucks, some businesses don't. You need speed. The rates are still a little low. What do we do?
It was brought up, Jay, but I don't know. We don't know if they listened. When it comes to price, we don't know if they listened.
This is this is where I come in, because I watch these speeches and I've heard the inclusion methods and all the stuff and the leadership and all this great stuff, but I wonder, is it happening? I mean, FVL, you had major companies that, if talked about carriers, were in this together and all this stuff. Are you seeing that?
I wasn't there. Maybe Derick can answer that one.
Yeah. Just say you weren't there, Derick. That way you'd be safe.
Well, there was brokers too at FVL.
See, and brokers have such an advantage in this, don't they?
Well, I mean, and like John said at AHA, it was brought up, like, you want us to invest in equipment and everything else, but now you have us competing against people that don't have equipment. And, he said what everybody else wanted to say at that time and got a round of applause because at AHA, they don't let any brokers in there. But, I mean, it's true. You have to service the customer right and all the time, and no matter through the ups and downs, the surges, if you're a contract carrier with assets, like, you're dedicated to them. I mean, the brokers, people come and go, they chase whatever's the highest paying freight, or I guess freelance the subhaulers do. And I mean, we've all seen it before where you have somebody working for you all the time and they jump and do the next best thing. But if you're asset-based company with a contract, you should be able to cover 90%, 95% of your own work anyway. So, I mean, it doesn't hurt as bad, but we all want to see the rates come up. I'm sure the brokers would like to see the rates come up too, but you're at that point right now where there's more trucks than capacity. Like, the gold rush after COVID's over.
Right. So the driver shortage is really getting us.
I think us personally, we having a lot of drivers apply.
That's what I meant, right?
I think
you knew that about. That's what you know. I mean, you know that about me. Like driver shortage. What?
Yeah, I think it has to do with a lot of people going out of business too. A lot of drivers jumped to Amazon and reefer freight. Car hauler drivers did in 21 and 22. But I always like to say car hauling's the cream of the crop. Right up there with maybe RGN freight, and they always come back. So, I mean, it's not a problem that we've had in a while. In the last 6 months or a year, we've been fortunate, and I guess I always like to say, if you build it, they will come. If you build a good company with, quality, a good culture, things that take care of the drivers, like that'll speak for itself.
I think we're also seeing kind of the tail end of the interest rates, because truck financing today is not the same as it was when they were giving money away a couple of years ago. And so although the larger fleets are feeling it too, the individual investor that used to be able to get, a pittance of an interest rate, now it's a lot harder for them to pull that off. That money is a lot harder to get your hands on. It leads people down dark paths with predatory type lease agreements and lease arrangements. And, I think we're starting to see a little bit of those collapses coming. I mean, anybody that's done this business for any length of time can take one look at a lease agreement and tell you in about 5 minutes whether or not it's going to be feasible or is impossible to achieve. And I think that those impossible lease agreements out there from the more predatory companies, I think at this point the chickens are now coming home to roost, and you're starting to see those drivers come available. Now, there's another thing to add here, another dimension to this, which has to do with FMCSA and the ever-changing and extremely nebulous rules that we have to follow as we go through the hiring cycle. Alongside of FMCSA and its changing rules and requirements, we're dealing with all kinds of restrictions on hiring with insurance companies. So yeah, I got a stack of applications, an incredible number of applicants, but about a third of them I throw out before I even get through the bottom of the application, because there's something in there that is a disqualifier for something that I would be for what it is that we need. Sometimes it's pretty innocent stuff. You live in a place that I can't get you home to. Often it's that. Sometimes it's a little bit more. It's other things, undisclosed things in people's past that would have been better to disclose to us. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, and I think the clearinghouse has disqualified a lot of guys too.
Tremendous number.
Yeah,
a tremendous number.
I think it's amazing how many people come fill out an application and you find out they never even did the clearinghouse. And you're saying to yourself, how did you get away with that? How did your last employee let you get away with that? So then we got to sign them up, get them all in. They got to go set up on the clearinghouse. And I'm saying to myself, it doesn't make sense nowadays how they're not involved.
I'm going to say something. The more I've learned about the clearinghouse, the more I think the clearinghouse learned that was literally the case. That much like ELD, until just thrown in, there was this avoidance of the program. And
it used to be possible for you to apply in one state and have a background, and apply in another state and have an absolutely clean background, and two companies would be absolutely independently incapable of confirming with one another that had happened. So what the clearinghouse did was it made it so that way any type of anything the FMCSA doesn't like, usually drug and alcohol, but oftentimes other things, it makes you can't hide that stuff anymore. It's just not possible anymore. And so A lot of people that came from that old school that can't wrap their head around that sit there and think, oh, I don't have to talk about this, that, and the other thing that happened, thinking that, it's just going to fly under the radar. And no, not anymore. It's not how it works anymore.
So did you read there was a senator or congressman that is or has like given the golden ticket to like 175,000 residents of Maryland that had cannabis convictions? I say this because, and by the way, there's probably some previous owners, presidents, and GMs and otherwise that if all the states were communicating like they are today, probably wouldn't have made it to where they are. The thing is, if we tighten the trap enough, nobody's going to get through. That's okay. But these systems, obviously they're developed for a reason. But I think that ultimately what we're saying now is that the system is in place and it is having a real effect.
But I don't know.
Go ahead, John.
I don't know if that affects a CDL driver. I think you're talking about a regular driver with a regular driver's
I
license.
am talking about regular people, not CDL drivers, yeah.
Because we got notifications in Jersey.
Well, that's where this issue is a social versus commercial issue.
You got no rights
Right.
commercial. They can do whatever they want.
And they keep teasing articles as if that's going to change. It's not. That ain't going to change.
They keep so remember that the FMCSA, the F in FMCSA, we all probably have an opinion on what the F in FMCSA stands for, but it actually is federal. That's the F word that
Right.
it stands for. Which, the states can legalize everything they want. It won't matter. The federal guideline is what it is. There's a national conversation that's being had right now. It's a good conversation. It's worth having. But do I think that the FMCSA is going to release any degree of control? No, I do not.
Never. And the people would never agree with that anyways.
Right. The moment
way.
that there's an accident of any kind,
I just heard
and someone
another
sits there and says,
commercial
"Oh, but look
today.
at this person's background history.
Get in a truck
It's this,
accident.
this, and this."
Come here and ring that register. That's never going to stop. Yeah.
Yep.
I know. That's what I was going to say. Economics and politics. A year ago, we knew this June 24 region would be tight, right? High interest, anxiety. Things are tight, right? I think eggs are back down and nobody's wearing a mask, but things are tight. Again,
But things are definitely tight. Everything's gone up.
And again, that makes me wonder why the OEMs are in a race to get all these cars to these lots where these interest rates are really high. What, to offer people discounts so they can move some of them? I don't know.
Stock it on the dealer's floor plan, and that's why.
That's it. They're just transferring money,
Oh,
and also,
thank
and
you.
also too, they're trying to, there probably is an actor out there that is trying to throttle the amount of supply to increase the price against the demand, and eventually there will be some other actor that will say, to hell with that, I'm going to flood the market and sell 1,000 more units or whatever the number, and so on and so forth. That's our economy. That's nothing new. It has happened a million times since 1900, whenever cars got sold. So I think there's a little bit of both of those things at play.
That makes total sense, Derick. Thank you. That does. They got to get them off the books, get them on the dealer. And I guess the irony of maybe we should have kept making ventilators. Yeah, I say these things like seems like 100 years ago. It wasn't that long ago. Where we're all wearing masks. The whole world wanted to get involved in making ventilators. And we were worried about, inventory, plant production. All right. So then I'm just going to tease it. Politics. If there wasn't enough to be worried about, then you have politics. And we're not going to get into picks and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is, in 3 months will be September 18th. Well, shoot, in 4 months, that's October. So we're in for like 135, 140, 150. We're just going to ramp up an anxiety. Our anxiety for the next 150 days is going to continue like it's been, right? It just gets tighter and tighter. All this stuff about AI. You see these things about, what's going on with companies and employees. Luckily, AI doesn't affect the truck guy. Does it?
I mean, I don't know. Does it?
I don't know.
You hear rumors out there.
I don't think so, right?
It shouldn't. It's labor.
AI's not driving a truck anytime
They're not
soon.
going to put them on the truck for you, that's for sure.
No.
Even
There
though
are
up there.
there are those companies that are talking about autonomous. You take it.
Never
AI
even
dispatch.
hauling. Yeah.
Or AI dispatch, but that's not the driver.
No.
In fact, AI is going to disrupt the broker more than the asset-heavy business.
If anything is helping us, honestly, a lot on the dispatch side for sure. Route optimization, damage-free deliveries, the fact that when you take a phone, when you take a picture of a car, it'll say, hey, this is not a key, it's a car. So the stuff like that's kind of helping us, if anything. But I don't think it's going to really hurt the driver's side.
AI is a tool. It's just a tool.
That's it.
People overthink it.
Do you
It's just
think
a tool.
will AI help the OEM that wants 4 to 8 hours?
No.
No.
No. AI can't make you pedal faster. It might tell you there's a better route to go and whatnot, but
You still need
at
a
the end of the day,
$4,000
it's
truck.
the human being that executes it. Just to put in perspective, I pulled this up in 2019. We had a SARS of 17 million, something like that.
Yes.
In 2020, our SARS was like 13.2, and the projection for 2024 is going to be around 16, give or take. So we're still not to pre-pandemic levels today, and the capacity today is as tight or tighter as it's ever been, in my experience.
We're not, and I'm not saying our dealerships in Jersey. Now I don't know if it's because we're so close to New York or what, but I'm not seeing our dealers with inventory. Not like it should be. It didn't come back the way it used to be. So I'm just wondering if they did have inventory, if they're still going to have a problem selling these cars because of the price of them. Because, nobody wants to pay these percentage rates on these vehicles.
See, that's
And the
what I was
price
gonna
of the vehicles have went.
The MSRP
No,
too.
true.
The MSRP is increased.
So the cost of capital's gone up, and the cost of the capital expense has gone up.
Yep.
Other than that, it's pretty terrific marketplace.
What is the average monthly payment now? It's like $750 a month, which is outrageous
Exorbitant.
for a family car. And back to the AI discussion. I was in a conference in Raleigh, North Carolina, and one of the big 5 brokers. I was in. They were pitching the AI-enabled platform, and they're saying it's better than using a small asset-based company to haul cars. You rather just have the AI-enabled platform. And I wanted to ask him, but I just don't want to be that guy, the jackass. I asked, how is that going to move the cars? What is the platform going to do? The car still needs to get on the truck. It still needs to get shipped. It might help it, but you can't say it's better than having a local transporter.
Money moves cars. That's what moves cars.
That's it.
But I wrote this down. I want to take a moment. Are we saying that since AHA doesn't let brokers in, maybe they deserve a little bit of credit for that?
Oh yeah, because it's built up.
It's an asset-based association, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we appreciate them not opening doors for brokers, of course, but
Yeah, but I never fully realized the impact of that decision. And I think I'm seeing that now, that is actually pretty cool.
Well, think about it. I mean, you think about it. You're going to have two very distinct and different philosophies on the business battling. I think it was pretty smart of them to make that call. If they're going to represent the carriers, then carriers.
That's a tough wall to hold. That's
No, I
like
don't think
Lord of
so.
the Rings, you know? I mean, there's a lot.
No,
You
I
know?
don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, that brokerage is not going away. Don't take my meaning like that, but there's always going to be a value of standing capacity, in my opinion.
And see, that's the thing that we're talking about in the AHA. It's not about the just isolate the brokers, but it's more about it's different when they bid against us and we have skin in the game and they don't. It's one thing for them to be the overflow, that's a great tool to have for the OEM. But when they're sitting there in the front of the table bidding with us on contracts and like most of us do, $4,000 per truck, and plus the safety department and all that stuff and maintenance and everything we deal with versus somebody just with a brokerage. How can we compete with pricing with them? Our overheads are 10 times higher than theirs. So that was a discussion that was brought up in AHA. It's not about just having the broker, it's about having the broker in the front of the line with the carriers.
Well, so that's the thing is, I mean, the reason I talked about holding a wall, and this is why I will talk to everybody. Dispatchers, brokers, carriers, insurance agents, accountants. I want to talk to everybody because it's the way to learn every perspective. But like Sue and I on Thursdays, when we look at load boards, and we look at them again a lot lately, I mean, every load board is basically a broker or brokers. It's mostly brokers. And the experiment was a load board like U-Ship. And who figured out what to do with U-Ship, and then just all these other companies came in and started doing it too. And the answer is brokers. U-Ship is all brokers, allegedly. Waiver, all that stuff. But I mean, it is. I don't even know how U-Ship works anymore, and I don't even know anybody that checks it anymore. And I don't know if U-Ship cares that I said that. But that is the state of U-Ship as far as car haul, owner operator, why, go through the madness. But a load gets posted and 10 brokers bid against each other to then broker that load. And that's what happens with brokering is brokers will find a way to then compete against each other. And for the carrier to enter the arena, you see this at the conferences too. I've talked about this. If you go to a conference exhibit hall, Rod, you know this. John, you've seen it. Joe, I think you saw it. And if you look and see who's trying to work with dealers, remarketing agencies, OEMs, fleet management companies to move their cars, it's all brokers that have the biggest teams, the biggest booths. That's just what they're really good at this.
Because technically, this is the only overhead is the travel and the software, of course. But it's millions of dollars to have the assets based.
Let me give you a good example of why it is that brokers' cost structure and fleet cost structures are extremely different. If you're a fleet cost structure, all of us here, then everyone in this room, or everyone on this chat, everyone on this stream, has an idea in their head of what their cost of claims are, cargo damages. Okay, some people measure it by cost per unit, some by cost per mile, some by by per driver per asset, whatever it is, an annual figure. But everybody here knows what their cost of claims are. If you're a broker, your cost of claims are zero. 100%
to the carrier.
Third party. 100% pass through. So that cost of claims that we have to use if we're responsibly pricing our business, because your real claims experience to be able to achieve a perfect year is so far out of the scope of what's possible in today's environment, probably ever, that you'll just never get there. But that is a 100% pass-through article for a brokerage. Classic example.
And with the increase of the MSRP and parts and everything else, that's a big number.
The risks of loss of sale and loss of value, and the company that's carrying the insurance note is not the brokerage. they're only obligated to ensure that their carriers are carrying the insurance note. And if they get the pricing wrong on what they think that insurance note needs to be, then what?
They're gonna wait for your money. They're gonna hold your money.
Well, that's the other thing. Yeah, the 6-month hold, the 9 months hold, the year hold. It's like, send me the invoice. Let me pay for the damage.
Very, very, very different business. They're very,
Right.
very different model of business.
I've always said that. I take the car, from somebody I know. Take the car from you, Joe. I take the car from Derick. And there's a damage. We call you. We say there's a damage. At least we get to take them care of. But you talk, and I'm just the brokers will just hold your money. They'll hold your money, and when they finally decide to settle, that's when they settle. It's taken care of. But who knows how long that's going to take?
Well, for a carrier, there's an incentive to do the diligence and try and I don't want to say defeat the claim. That's the wrong term. But if it's damage that's covered on the driver's inspection, then we can do the diligence to be able to say, hey, look, this wasn't a claim that we created. This is something that we caught on our inspection. That gets passed on to a different thing. There's no incentive for a broker to do that. They don't give a damn. Whoever it is that's paying, but that's hauling the load is paying the claim, whether they did the right thing or they didn't. So, they could just rubber stamp everything that comes across their debt. Now, I'm not saying that they do that. Maybe some do. I don't know. But, there's no incentive is the point that I'm making. Whereas to a carrier, that's something that's in the top 3 list of things we consider.
One of the reasons why I like to have this conversation is that somebody recently brought up on my Thursday show is the power that brokers have and exert over the volume of loads that they have under their control. And whether it's conscious or not, and it's hard to argue that it's not conscious, but when you get to the point where you're posting hundreds of loads a day, there is a power there. And if you don't like the way somebody interacts with your authority, no problem. We don't need you anymore on our list. And this is it's something, it's almost like it can't be talked about. The powers that brokers have with the volume of loads that they post is something that the owner operator can't talk about. And it kind of sucks to witness.
Well, if the owner-operator pool wasn't as deep as it was, then brokerages would struggle to exist to the extent that they do today.
You just beat me to the punch. That's what I was going to say. The problem is, like I said, you got to build relationships. You got to know who you can do your work with, and then you won't have these issues.
Right. When they're a dime a dozen, then there's no incentive.
So owner-operators are a dime a dozen.
There's lots and lots of smaller companies that are usually single or 2 or 5 truck fleets that that's how they make their living, is just bouncing around, ping-ponging around through the load boards.
So could we say then, rather than driver shortage as a problem, owner operators are a dime a dozen? And neither of those are nice, but there are plenty of owner operators. Is that because owner operators will say, man, the rates just stink out here? That would
but
be
someone
why.
hauls it until they don't do the work, until they protest with their capacity, then the rates are not going to improve.
They call it gas money. I've seen $2 a mile sometimes. I'm like, how is that gas money? It's
absolutely
the cost of a windshield will take all that out.
I've heard drivers say, it's
yeah, I mean
gas money.
the cost cost of fuel is half of that, and you're there with zero risk.
That's actually one of the reasons I had to get out of dispatching, because I couldn't understand. That's not gas money.
And what they don't understand, it takes a quarter of a day to load, a quarter of a day to unload. You hold it for a good day. You lost a day and a half for gas money versus you could have deadhead and been there in 4 or 5 hours. Then you could have gotten a really good paying load to take it to the next place. So it's all about the business plan. And this is what the loads boards are great for what they do. You just got to know how to use them. And a lot of people don't.
They're a weapon. They're a tool.
Right.
Just like AI.
I mean, Joe said it earlier. It's you send the truck 700 miles, great, but it takes about what 1,500 miles to 1,200 miles to bring it back, because you don't just shoot it back. You got to go through your network and through your other terminals and bring it back. But like you said, it takes a long time to build all this and know where you start and where you end. You can't just go to Dallas and wait on Manhattan, Dallas to go sail on Wednesday and hope you get something back east or north. You got to have a plan weeks ahead.
Let's go ahead and talk about that for a second, because I know I've heard everyone talk about that in different ways. Is that when you go from 1 truck to 5 trucks to 10 trucks, 20 trucks, 50, 100, you are now part of, somebody has to spend all day and all night thinking about, yes, every leg of the triangle, the quadrangle, and then one of them goes away, and then one of them is surging, and then, right? I mean, this is a non-stop managing. Yeah.
Welcome to trucking.
Dispatchers, good. It is. It comes down to good dispatchers.
You got to be talented dispatchers, right? Not just somebody who knows how to put zip codes on platforms. You got to think outside the pictures. You got to go to these conferences. You got to talk to Joe, Derick, myself, all these people. What do you have today? What do you got tomorrow?
Yeah, like I said, build relationships. A dispatcher's got a lot of jobs. He's got to deal with breakdowns. He's got to deal with, a guy not being on time. There's a lot involved in a dispatcher, and it's a lot of work for them. So you got to find a decent dispatcher that can take care of it and make sure it's taken care of when it's supposed to be done.
And most importantly,
talk to the people. Got to be able to communicate to the driver.
There we go. And there we go. I always tell them, like, call them once a day, once every day. You got to hear their voice. You got to hear your tone. You got to hear that you're actually working hard for them to find them loads.
Yep.
Yep.
We got to joke about that. We joke about that all the time.
You can't just shoot a text. Yep. You can't just shoot a text. Hey, got you this load. Good luck. Nope. Call them, say good morning, see how they're feeling. It's 5 minutes.
Oh man, I carrier relations department. I want to talk about that too, but also in that, in business development. Hey, we need capacity from here to here. You need to look for that, right? That we have this empty leg of our rectangle, right? So how do you do that? Let's say, right, you got to Dallas. All the trucks are in Dallas. We need to get them back to Baltimore. How do you go about figuring that out? Like
now you want us to give up our secrets.
Hey, all right, cool. We'll change topics.
Like Joe said, just talk.
Right?
Pick up the phone.
Right. All the brokers are like, oh, this is the good stuff. Okay.
Now what you're saying, Jay, you gotta know who they are. You gotta know who's moving what, where they're going, and you gotta build your triangles. So this way you know who to call when you send that truck to that area, and then you got to figure out where you're going to send them. You're going to send them north. You're going to send them south. It's a lot of work on a dispatcher side, and he's always trying to put as much as he can on the truck, per mile. So it's a lot of work.
And this business development doesn't happen by just finding stuff on the load board.
Months to years sometimes.
Right. You got to develop relationships.
You'll throw 100 darts at the board, and you'll hit maybe 3.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very, 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 very long process. I was gonna say that it's all about relationships, because you got to be able to have those honest and open discussions with your customers. What it is that you need. What are you trying to accomplish? What do they need? How do we help you get there? And then connecting dots.
And then the other thing that happens too, you finally get something set up, you're going smooth, and all of a sudden somebody loses the contract, somebody else has got the contract, so now you got to rebuild everything and go the other route and find out who, but that's the only way you're going to do it. You got to get out there and meet these people, find out who took that contract, and
reestablish it.
Yep.
Because you don't want to lose your other leg.
To pivot back a little bit to what Rod and John were saying too, the best business development people that I know were former dispatchers, because they're the ones who have the BS sensor about what you can and cannot pull off. Remember, the drivers have a ticking time bomb on their dashboard every single day. When they start their shift, they have 14 hours to be done. So you have to have some sense of reasonable, ability to judge what can be done in a day, a week, a month, whatever it is. What's feasible, so that way you can put that information to good work.
Well, and I appreciate you saying it because I was thinking relationships, yes, of course. But this business sales acumen is a really important part of being able to figure out how to put those pieces together. So, and I want to add that because I've heard it's all about relationships. It's all about relationships. Well, that's definitely part of it. But that's not the whole thing required.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah. Well, carrier relations. Speaking of relationships, it's all about relationships. Carrier relations departments. I was saying that brokerages would do well by developing their carrier relations departments. By talking, not just having a barbecue and, I don't know, dog day or whatever, but, being in touch with carriers and helping them develop their running lanes, really being in touch.
Help them grow. Yep.
Yeah.
And this is something that the AI that I don't like about with the load board that we use. They can go there, request it, and we can accept it and move on. But you lost the human touch, the phone call. I want to hear who am I talking to. I want to hear if they actually BSing me about delivery or they're actually going to get there on time. So it's great that sometimes when we're busy, we can just, if they're a verified carrier, shoot it to them, great. If they're new people, even though they're verified, still, like, we want to have that personal touch. Just get to know them and establish a relationship in that lane. If they're in the regional in that area, why go back to the load board? I can just, every Tuesday when I get my VINs, I can just shoot it to that guy.
How about this? How about Garrett, I'm a broker and I call, whoever, John or Rod or any whoever, Derick, anybody, and say, hey, listen, I got this package, this deal coming up, and it's I'm going to make this ridiculous, but we're picking up loads in Nashville, straight drops back down to Savannah, and it's paying $9 a mile.
What are we starting?
Yeah. How many trucks you think you could get there? And, how much you think you could, what kind of capacity would you be able to commit to that? Being able to ask that question and talk to people that you have worked with in the past, it just spawns, a shared opportunity, shared wealth, things like that.
So, and on this, I say this because when it comes to developing business, it's all about relationships. Those sales teams, man, they're taking people to dinner, and it is all about relationships. But you go on the logistics side, and it's a hot dog and a movie ticket. My point is, there's a difference here, and I don't. Maybe it doesn't need to be done. Jay, you're just making stuff up, but it seems like, Rod, you pointed out that phone call is great. I'm glad we were able to do things fast. But now that we got everything really fast, if I need something, God, I'd love to be able to call somebody. And that's actually where I think some of this came from, is Sue was telling me that now she has to go in the live chat and all that, can't talk to anybody. I'm thinking, man,
right.
Why can't you talk to somebody? This is a giant company. Huge.
Hey, how many trucks do you have? I got 6. Great. That's it. Versus posting 6 loads and we don't have. And that's the thing is that carriers sometimes, and this is what helps me a lot, is even though the load is gone from the load board, call them. Call the broker or call the dealer. Hey, it's gone today. Are you buying next week? Yes, I am. I'll call you that day. And that's how you grow a relationship. And that's a lot of guys. They see the load is gone from the load board, they give up.
I say that all the time.
That's awesome.
We won't, for us, and I mean, we do have a brokerage that we use sometimes, but when we put loads out, I'll only put 1 or 2 copies of a particular load on the board. Right. I might have 10 more, but I'm only throwing 1 or 2 out there because, it's better for someone, if someone calls and says, hey, give me that load to Springfield, anywhere USA, well, I don't have that one, but here's another one just like it.
And you never know. From that conversation, you get to know them, and next thing you know, they're probably on the other side of the country. But
what are you doing after you get empty in Springfield? Do you got plans? Oh, you need something else to do? Well, it just so happens I have this load going from Springfield carriers to Lincoln.
Okay.
You got to communicate because
I think we give you too much secrets today.
Wow.
Yeah. And I talked to Christopher about that the other day. I said, Christopher, you got to get to the point where you're not calling them every day, where they're calling you. And it takes a while to get to that point, but it does happen, you know. So.
No, I love it. I'm going to tell Sue. We don't have a show Thursday, so I'll have to wait a week. But do you have any more of those?
Come on, Terry, give him one.
Do you have any more of those? And what was the other one? Got anything when I get there?
Where are you going when you're done?
Just talk. That's it.
I know, but the reason I'm saying it like this, because this isn't known. You know what's known out there? I'll do it for $50 less. Everybody seems to know that one.
You know who's my best sales guy in Tampa? You won't believe it. The tow truck guy that I use to move things around. Sometimes he's subhaul for us, but now when he has extra work that he doesn't want to handle going out of state, he calls us. Hey, I got this customer to move cars to XYZ. Great, send it over. Sometimes that guy he gives me full loads. 18 cars, 27 cars. One guy with a tow truck. But again, it's about relationships. We stay in contact with him. We give him the work when we can, and we keep him busy whenever we have the freight. That's all about relationships.
Relationships and business development, knowing what to say,
and loyalty.
And this is where I'm trying to bring this to the next level, right? Because just likes and smiling isn't going to get it. You got to also know what it is you need to see. You have to know the words to say and when to say it.
Well, it's more than that. You have to have the integrity. You know, when the customer has to believe the words you say, or else you're going nowhere. Integrity is really important.
It's huge.
All right. How do you establish integrity?
There's no fast way to do that.
Oh, no.
You got to start like anybody else. Just don't give them that call. See, what happened was they don't like to hear that. If something happens, you call the client first, whether it's a dealer or OEM. Hey, we got delays, and this is the plan that we have. Don't call them afterward. There's a transparency.
Yeah, it's better to get ahead of it.
Right.
Yeah, don't get caught in a lie, whatever you do.
It all it takes is one time and you're out.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you could be out with Joe, and Joe will tell Derick, and Derick's like, I got to back up on this carrier because did the same with Joe and John and so forth. So the word goes around pretty quick. It's a huge market that we're in, but we're extremely small community.
Agree.
So is that now, okay, let's talk about owner-operators. Is there a high turnover of owner-operators, even though there's many? I mean, what does that look like? I think that's something Sue and I are always trying to understand, because it seems like there's high turnover of MC numbers. Brian Riker knows some of this.
But it depends on what type of owner-operator we're talking about. You got some of these companies out here that are brokers that are turning their drivers into owner-operators. Okay, so they're owner-operators, but they're running their trucks. So there's a whole different. It's a lot different. A lot of your owner-operators too are doing POVs. They're doing dealer work. They're not doing OEM work.
I think he's talking about more standalone companies, maybe guys that have their own authority.
Correct.
Right,
but I like where John's headed, because I do want to ask this question. If brokers are getting more of the OEM work, aren't more owner-operators, as I'm talking about, moving more OEM cars than they would if it was going to the asset heavy?
Yes.
Right now they are.
Yep.
So then maybe that's something to bring up with the owner, the OEM, as they, see the enticement of the broker. Okay. If you like having more random owner operators trying to move your car for the very first time, then you definitely have an alternate route here.
Once you put it on the load board, there's anybody's going to call on it. That's the problem.
Gas money.
Yeah, gas money.
So now a new car, finished vehicle logistics, has turned into gas money?
In some markets, yes.
Whoa. That is.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of that comes down to quality too. Like, you have all these different people coming in, they're cutting corners, and some of the OEMs are starting to realize that, and there's been a lot of light shed on that in the last 2-3 months. You get guys leaking hydraulic fluid all over the yard, leaving their trash all over the place, things like that. I mean, that's starting to rear its head.
What about chain trucks? I seen chain truck load up. I'm like, what the hell's this?
We
Those
had
are dinosaurs.
That's a good one, Rod. We had one where a guy had a couple of dogs in his truck that got out and needed to use the grassy area nearby. That was a very intense conversation.
Yep.
And
Really one.
Wow.
And the biggest problem too is that it's the insurance. I mean, these people claim the car, the company will claim the car, and then they give it to somebody else. And there's no way in the world the broker knows who's got that vehicle on their truck. There's just no we see it all the time. We see people coming to pick up, and I say to myself, I'll call and I'll say, wait a minute, this isn't the person that claimed the car. We're not giving them the car. And I think it happens more than anybody knows, but they're just a friend, somebody, and the company that's claiming the car has insurance and everything, but it's going on somebody else's truck.
We've been seeing about nearly almost 1 to 2, but definitely every month we're getting a notification from Silver Dispatch. Hey, this person is flagged for double brokerage. I mean, I've had probably 2 in the past 30 days. So double brokerage, it's definitely increased a lot. And again, that's where I go back to the AI, because the platform is just book, accept the loads and move on. I didn't talk to that person. And most of the time they call you and say, hey, I'm from a transport company. None of us ever call somebody and say we're from a transport company. We say, hey, I'm from Hamil, I'm from Midwestern, and so forth. We company names. And the first question I ask is, what color of your truck? And the pause goes. Like, we all know what the color trucks are, the ones dispatched to the load. If not, give you 2 seconds, or the name of the driver. And 90% of the time, they don't. They don't know. And some people claimed, I asked them, they had, I think, 3 central accounts. And I was like, why do you have 3 central accounts? And they said, oh, we're huge. I'm like, bigger than RPM? Like, why do you have 3? 1, 2, 3. So it's stuff like that. It's just, you never know who's showing up to pick up the freight, and that's why now when I get registered as a subhauler with the big fleets, I mean, I get some question asked. I'm like, I didn't even know those questions about myself. Well, I'm like, hey, good job.
Dude, that's awesome. I'm smelling a top 5 reasons why an OEM might want to reconsider and stay with an asset heavy. Because you just came up with several reasons why. I mean, you can get pretty out of control. Now, I'm saying these things because, again, I'm hearing all sides, and there's pros and cons to everything. But when I see the brokers are getting in so well that there's now other brokers trying to hedge in on brokers, it's pretty wild to watch. Meanwhile, yeah.
I think they're fighting between each other a lot.
They are now, aren't they?
And they're competing like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah, and the way you know that is the word acquisition.
There we go.
Right, and there it is. I said it. That's how you know. We're going to see more. I said, I think it was December, we're going to see more acquisitions in the broker space this year. I don't know who, I don't know when, but I know we're going to start seeing more. I don't think we've seen. If things get tighter, I expect to see several more.
It's already started.
Okay, that's a good to be continued right there.
One thing I want to make clear, though, just so everybody understands, is that there is some good owner-operators out there.
Absolutely.
There is.
For
so
sure.
I don't
And
want
again, John, it goes to that phone call. When you
Yeah.
talk to them, you can tell.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why Sue and I like to help owner-operators that are trying to stay in business and do a great job and be profitable. We are trying to help them add more tools to the toolbox. because it's tough, man. It's tough out there.
It's definitely harder to start now than
Oh, it
prior.
sucks. That's another thing we've been talking about. If you're a new MC, oh my god, it's brutal. I mean, you have to live off the load board if you're new, and you can't live off half of the load boards because you're new. So you're just going to sit at home and pay for insurance.
Truck payment.
Whoa. Now, there are places you can haul, but they don't make YouTube videos about it. There's still hustle and haul and get the, hustle money and all this stuff. That's fine. I mean, fine. It sucks. I'm sorry that you're making those videos, but yeah, there is no video. Hey, if you're new, get ready to sit at home for 4 months. I mean, hopefully that you don't have to do, but you can't work for everybody.
Just trying to get your hands on the equipment right now is brutal. And then, so if you end up getting into pre-owned equipment and things break on you, man, that's a difficult month. The environment right now, I don't know about you guys, but the environment right now for truck repairs, pretty gnarly, at least where I am.
Parts are through the roof. Cost, the shops are starving too. They're not as consistent as they were with the amount of clients going in and going through the doors.
How about road service? Try to call 30 people before you get someone to come out, and then they want you to pay $500 before they even leave. And then they come and they can't fix the problem.
$500 to show up, say, sorry, we'll come in the morning when the shop opens up.
I don't work on car carriers. They're too low to the ground.
It's like, you knew about this. We told you.
Credit card authorizations first before they even go out. So they'll guarantee payment. I mean, it's crazy. 3-hour minimum plus mileage. I mean, it's hard to get road service right now.
We had a minor breakdown in Knoxville yesterday, and we were one of the big truck stops, and just a coolant reservoir. The factory one was like 500 some change. The invoice was 980. I'm like, why? Why would you mark it up so much? I get it for a small town and you have to travel 100 miles to get and come back, but you got it from 5 miles down the road. So the markup on these things are insane, and there's nothing we can do. It's what I do. I can't send my guy in a taxi to go get it and come back. Our insurance won't cover him if anything happens, so we have to sit around and wait till they get the part for us.
Uber.
Well, we're all in it together.
So that's what we got to do, guys. We should copyright this. We're gonna do Uber parts.
Uber parts.
They got Uber Eats. We'll do Uber parts.
We might make a deal with that.
I'm going in competition, and I'm doing part stash.
or what is it? Lift parts.
Lift parts. Uber parts.
Parts lift. I like that.
This is a great idea. We'll make a fortune.
Making it rain, baby. Making it rain.
Yeah, that's the whole goal. That's why we're here. First of all, thank you, live chat. Thanks everyone in the audience for sticking around, and gentlemen, thank you so much. Joe Bercari, John Larick, Rod Hamil, Derick Hopkins. This is awesome. I'm glad we did this, and I didn't know when we would do a follow-up show. I didn't know, what time you all had to, allow. But you just gave me over an hour of your personal time. It's amazing.
Thanks for having us, Jay.
Glad to be here.
So cool.
I am too. I'd like to find out what your listeners, though, if there's any topics that they're interested in that maybe we could hit on for them and maybe answer some of the questions for them.
I don't get a lot of the live chat. Let's see if there was anything. Misty said preparing to learn. Tough business. Money moves cars.
That's a good line, Derick.
Yeah.
That's a good line.
Brokers are getting fuel surcharges too. Brokers are getting fuel surcharges too. That's what from Wendy said.
It depends. It depends on how their contract is set up. Some do, some don't.
And sometimes they pass it on.
Yeah, spot buy is often the surcharge is just included because it's a short-term thing. But some contracts do have spot buy, which, to Rod's point, they'll pass on sometimes.
Cindy has a real good one here, Derick. What's the sweet spot in the truck count?
900.
No, man, I wouldn't. No way.
I'll have no hair, no vision. They can't hear. It's nothing.
It's a good one. I'm sure that,
I guess it varies by the.
Right, I was going to say, that'd be like finding out the speed that the OEM needs on the. Yeah, but that's actually a really. Cindy knows something she's not telling us. It's an insightful question.
Very nuanced question.
Yeah.
With a very nuanced answer.
Yeah. Nice, Cindy. Nice. Good one. Tell the carrier you have more than one load and won't give it to him for that price. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, the games, the load games. Ooh. By Hasbro. Labor through the roof, insurance, also the list goes on. Yeah, no, there is a long. All right, yeah, top 5. There we go. Top 5 costs of a car hauling business owner. Number 1.
Repairs.
Drivers. Fuel.
Fuel.
Insurance.
Damages.
Claims.
Drivers.
Drivers is always number 1. Equipment. Truck payment.
Driver,
Maintenance.
fuel, insurance, claims.
In which all going up.
And I would say maintenance probably beats claims.
Yeah, maintenance is it's definitely well, claims you can almost control in a way by training your fleet and all this.
But you can't stop the tires from wearing.
I'm just gonna say tires.
Yeah,
Like,
but if your claims are more than your maintenance, then you got a problem.
You'll be out in no time.
and fuel's going up. But he's noticed fuel's going up every day. It's going up again.
Is it? Yeah.
Sorry, another thing with the fuel is bad fuel in some areas where you go get fuel and next thing you know you need 6 injectors. That's like $15,000 job.
I haven't run it yet, but I know the price of fuel's going up.
So there's kind of here's a red flag then. If your claims goes more than your maintenance, you got a problem.
Ooh.
Big problem.
Definitely.
That's how we look at your KPIs.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, simple stat.
I mean, in all fairness, I have drivers that go all year with a 0 damage. So it's usually 1 to 2 damage a year of minimal damage. Major, it should be almost down to 0 because with all the new equipment, all the nice trucks, all the technology that the drivers have, and also the carriers would give us the sub-haul or even the OEMs, they're aware of what fits on the truck. You can't put a matrix on top of the truck anymore going to the Northeast and so forth. It's all about how to load the truck as well. So if the driver doesn't know how to load the truck, you got a bigger problem. And if you do the proper training, it's kind of be avoided in a way. But that doesn't.
Maybe AI can help us with that.
There we go, right? Some app. How to load a car hauler.
I tell you what, and that's where David Ray Jr. is a friend of the show, and he's a tech guy. And I like to get this kind of stuff over to David to see what kind of tech ideas he thinks would be helpful. DDD asks, used equipment versus new equipment.
Trade-offs. Always trade-offs.
So used equipment. So sorry, go ahead, Joe.
No, fire away.
Yep, it all depends on who you're buying it from. If they kept up with it, it's a gold mine. But if you buy from the wrong person, you'll spend nearly as what you paid for a new one.
So can you get the Carfax on the trailer?
Yeah. Good luck.
Carfax on a
Trailer? Who does maintenance on trailer?
I got your number, John.
Oh my God, that's awful. I wish. No, we know. Derick's done it. I've done it. We know that when you buy a new truck now, you got to make sure you get the extended warranty, everything, because, I mean, You put a Cummins motor in one of these trucks. It's $45,000.
Yeah,
It's ridiculous. You know, it's just, and they're not holding up. I mean, it's crazy what's going on with the trucks right now with the repairs.
I just bought 2 Cummins motors.
Yeah.
They're disposable
But
nowadays. It's
Well,
even the new
DDDs
ones though, you get them and there's so many, there's bugs in them. I mean, I don't know, every new truck we bought, I think this year we had to go back to the dealer for something before it hit the road. Like Rod said, if you're going to buy used equipment, if you know who you're buying it from and they have a good maintenance program and they fix things on it, then you're in good shape. But if you buy one of these trucks that had 30 drivers in it and the person was skipping on maintenance here and there, you're going to have nothing but a nightmare after that. So I always say, like, you're going to pay, whether it's a truck payment, repair payments, or the federal tax, you're going to pay one of the 3. So decide what you want to do.
Last I checked, you could write off some of the depreciation on interest, as opposed to you can't write off any bit of your truck repair,
Right.
of your maintenance. PMs, anyway. Capital expense is different, but new equipment, the benefit is really the warranty, in my opinion. And, just being able to drop it off and yell at somebody and have them fix it.
Even though it might take 3 months, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's.
man. So that's the downside of new is you could have a long wait time.
It depends. It
varies by the dealer too.
We know that
Yeah,
parts. Go ahead.
We just pay out of pocket to get some things fixed sometimes before we go to the dealer, because it might be there for 5 days when we can be moving that day if we just
Fix it.
pay for it ourselves, fix it.
Money moves cars.
Money move cars.
I said
That should be a new
.com.
thing on your shirt now.
I don't know if the .com is available or not, but if it was, it got bought in the last hour.
Am I going to get royalties on that?
I know, right? I love domains, but
You
I got
should.
plenty.
I was taught that lesson 15 years ago, probably. Someone told me that. Money moves cars.
Like that.
So great. That was good, DDD. Yeah, DDD is a mechanic, former diesel mechanic, ran a few shops. And so, this is what I was going to say is parts were really a problem, 2022, 2021?
21.
Yeah.
Okay.
2021.
How are parts now in 2024?
I don't think it's an issue lately.
Not as bad.
We've had some bad now. It's changing. It's
On
not
the newer
one
ones,
thing.
yeah.
It's not one thing. National back order is still a thing in certain things, wiring harnesses and stuff like that.
Wiring harnesses, right. So those
spare trucks.
Those ships are still off Long Beach. They've been there for years.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know
Right.
where that stuff comes from, or if it's how it's made, or how it does any of that. But yeah, there are still national back orders on certain things.
Certain brands of tires are hard to get.
Yeah, tires are,
right.
especially for car haulers. A lot of those tire sizes are just challenging.
And that's a big issue because you blow a tire, you're 600 miles away from your terminal. You got to get a mismatch because it's the only way to get home. Then you get home, then you match it with the rest, and then you have just an oddball tire.
Yeah, you
Because
got a tire with nothing to do with it.
right.
Tires, road service, it's another thing. Road service is awful. We have a Michelin account, but it's hard because, you blow a steer tire, you'll be lucky if you find it.
My favorite part is when they say we can't lift up the truck; it's too heavy. I'm like, it's 80,000-pound truck, as good as any other truck here. Why can't you lift it? Just because it's car hauler and it looks huge and stuff.
I can see Rod on the side of the road. It's just a car hauler, man.
It's a car
Okay,
hauler.
so Joe, you guys, you have a bit of a shop, right? Are you able to stay ahead on some of these issues with the shop?
Yeah, I mean, you try. We keep common tires in stock so that way we can run them through our shop and just trade them out. but and we try and keep cores for recaps where we use recaps. Right now, we're gonna not be using recaps because of the heat, but we try. But I mean, we're susceptible to the same demand and supply issues as anybody. I mean, really, I don't have the luxury of 100 locations around the country to be able to send trucks to go and get stuff like this fixed. So, but I have trucks all over the country that blow tires all the time. So
yeah, are
to
you
John's point before,
are you able to make partnerships with other locations, kind of?
No, not with other trucking companies, but we do business with other distributors and stuff like that. That's the only way you can do it, really, because it's very difficult for a carrier to have that kind of density. I mean, unless you're Saya or somebody, where you've got 13,000 trucks on the road, where you can, those locations can be all over the place. It's very hard to do that in our business.
Maintenance, man.
Can't predict where it's going to happen. That's the problem.
That's kind of one of the. Yeah.
It's always out of nowhere, and it's always on a Friday night.
Yeah, nobody works on the weekends anymore.
Yep.
Really?
Awful. Nobody.
Really? Oh God, that's terrible.
But I think, in fairness and defense, a lot of shops are struggling to keep technicians. So they just can't staff. It's just it's a headcount issue as much as anything.
That is a real thing, isn't it?
It's definitely a real thing. I've had it said to me. We'd get you in if we had a mechanic here, but we don't have, we're short-staffed.
Why don't more, I mean, this is probably a philosophical question, but why don't more, folks that are considering getting into trucking, getting into being a mechanic?
It's harder to work on trucks, I guess, nowadays.
It all starts in the colleges. The guidance counselors are setting them up to go to college. To be a business person. They're not sending them to school to be a mechanic.
That too. Everybody's on your own business. Start your own business.
So it's interesting you say that, because I think I've noticed at the high school some amount of trade talk, right? To go learn a trade. But maybe it's still not what it could be. Maybe it's, I don't know.
They need to promote it more. They need to promote, blue collar workers. We need more of them.
And also another thing is, what we get charged for road call versus what they're taking home, it's nowhere near. They don't make the money that I think they should earn. I mean, they're risking their life on the side of the road, 2 o'clock in the morning, replacing a tire.
I've thought about the AAA guy that comes by. What is his cut, right? And this gets back into, dare I say.
And here in Tampa, the diesel shops, they're paying $60 to $70 an hour.
Wow.
Yep.
That's what they're paying, but
That's the hourly for the employees.
Yeah, we're saying like anywhere from 150 to 185 an hour here.
Oh, sorry, that's to charge for the service or to pay?
The hourly rate, hourly rate at the shops.
Yeah, I was about the same. It's 150 to 190 on the high end, but what they're getting paid is 60 to 70 on the high end of $50 per hour to do all this work and break their back, and it's a hard job. It's not an easy job. Even though you have all the right tools, it's still, those parts are really heavy.
I suppose the business owner would say, hey, you should see my bills. And around it goes.
I'm sure they're in the same boat as us with insurance and rent and.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I would imagine insurance is, especially like workers' comp and everything, liability.
I'm sure
my gosh.
The price of real estate, unbelievable. It's
$1 million an acre here in Tampa.
Yeah.
Ooh,
that's
really
just for dirt. Hold on, $1 million for dirt. You don't even have a building on it.
$1 million for the dirt.
Just
so
for
what are you at, Rod? 22 acres, 23, something like that.
About yeah. We know between the and all that, sure. I got a lake on one side, river on the other side.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, you should charge for the view. There you go. Get some. And Andre says, the rise of automation may lead to uncertainty about the future demand for traditional truck mechanics, something to think about. Cindy says they definitely don't promote the blue collar in the schools. If more kids learned how much they could make, the demand to learn the trade would probably be greater. Yeah, that's probably true. So there definitely is. It's really interesting that we.
That's a micro type thing that,
that we started talking about. Yeah, the schools. And the schools are thinking, man, we got our hands full with the parents. We don't know what to do either. My goodness, right?
Well, I'm not going to get political or anything, but the things that we're debating versus the things that we're teaching, not on the same line.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you got to stick to the book material. I don't want anybody to you can't veer off course.
I'll tell you, this was a good discussion tonight, Jake.
It was a pretty wild show.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much for being a part of it. I really thank you so much for doing that. It was fun.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was cool.
Thanks,
This was the
Jay.
trade show experience that we just didn't get to have in the past 6 months. So this was it.
Talk the talk, like Joe said. Just talk.
Yeah.
And money move cars.
Yeah. Money moves cars.
Yeah, I'm
Quote
going to get
of the
that
night.
frame.
We need the
That's
ring.
a good one.
Hashtag. All right, Joe, Rod.
We got a
What-
patent. So.
We got a patent? Yeah. Derick said it, right?
Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Derick said it. Derick gets
Okay.
all the spoils. All right. Cindy, Andre, DDD, Mia, Poe, Chris. Thank you so much, everybody in the live chat. Gentlemen, thank you again so much. Really appreciate you. And we'll do it again in another quarter or so. All right? We'll have a special right before the election.
Well,
When we're at the precipice of the unknown, we'll meet
Thank
again.
God.
I think that'll be around the time
That's
of.
what we'll call the show. The precipice of the unknown. All right.
We've been
See,
good. We've
I'll
been
be-
really good keeping the politics out of this.
We did good.
Okay, we did real
We
good.
did really good. Yeah, we did really good. I'm proud of everybody. All right. Here's another applause. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. We'll see
Good
you
night.
soon.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Night.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye. And that's a cut. All right, cool. That was really fun. We knew that we wanted to do a follow-up from our Port of Baltimore. It's like a live special. I think it was on a Thursday. And I think that was in March. And so here we are in June, quarter later. So we'll meet again in a quarter. And so mark your calendars. Really, everybody. And I saw Muzi was in here. Yeah, my old buddy Ken. And Stefan family. Oh, Jim made it in there. And Wendy and DDD and Alex. Hey, what's up, Alex? Mia Woods, JT. Thank you so much. Thank you, live chat. Thank you, panel. Again, that was we had Joe Bercari, Midwestern Car Carriers, Rod Hamil, Hamil Logistics, John Larick of Larick's Towing and Transport, Inc., and Derick Hopkins, Fine Line Transportation. If you want to learn more about them and their aspect of the world, they are all asset-heavy car hauling business, either presidents or VPs. I think we had 3 presidents and a VP tonight. So let me know how we can help. Autotransportintel@gmail.com. Go to ATIautobusiness.com. And there is no show this Thursday, so we got Thursday off. We'll be back with, this is so cool. After all that, Tuesday, I love to do this, man. Know your ecosystem. OEM, dealer, auction, logistics, remarketing, recon, compliance, and tech. We're going to switch up the vertical, and we are going to go back to the broker side of logistics Tuesday, RPM, live with ATI, and they will be live from Used Car Week Canada here on ATI. We're going to go early by a couple hours on Tuesday, so it's going to be awesome. That's going to be an interesting show. It will not top this epic panel tonight, though. It might. It could, but this was epic. Really epic. Money moves cars. Thank you, Murphy Auto Transport, Superflow Systems. Again, everybody in the past, in the future, and in the present. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Here comes the car hauler. Let me know how I can help. Look for my shorts. We'll see you soon. Thanks. Good night.